18 volt, 18 volt times 2 or 36 volt, and 40 volt. 3 different power heads, 3 different ways of powering them, but how much power does each one have compared to the other? Let's go take a look, eh? Boys and girls, come out to play on the busy motorway. What have I got you today? 3 power heads, that's what I say. We have the DUX18, the DUX60, and the, what is this? It's the UX01G. It's hard to remember all these numbers all the time. Those are the numbers if you are anywhere in the world apart from North America. If you're in North America, they are... I'll just put them on the screen, eh? We have before us today a trio of Makita power heads, or split shaft system power heads, multifunction power heads. They get sort of lots of names. By split shaft it means they have a split in the shaft, just there, see? They don't go anywhere. They are just a power head that powers other attachments. Those attachments include pole saws, weed eaters or line trimmers, blowers, scrubbers, cultivators. There's even a weed eater thing that looks like a circular hedge trimmer. All sorts of stuff. But today in this video we're firstly going to concentrate on the... Firstly, is that a word? Yeah, sure it is. We're going to concentrate on the power heads and the blower today. So I'll give you all the details about the power heads and then we'll look at the differences it makes with the blower, and then in future videos we will look at other attachments. First up, I'd like to look at build quality. It's something I don't normally talk too much about. It's not normally an issue unless you're comparing a lot of different things, and because we've got 3 to compare here, it does sort of come into play. 2 of these look and feel really nice and 1 doesn't. You know when you take a tool out of the box for the first time and you have a look at it and you feel it and you either think, wow, that's really nice, they have done a good job on this, or you think this feels like a cheap plastic piece of shit. Well, 2 of these feel nice and 1 of them feels, yeah, a little bit like they didn't try too hard. And the 2 that feel good are the 18 volt and the 40 volt. The 18x2, the quality control just seems a little lax compared to the other 2. This is nice, this is nice, this has a lot of sharp edges on it. The mold is not together, the clamp on the clamshell is not great. You can even sort of see quite a big gap on the 18x2 that the others don't have. And up here we have the 18 volt, the 18x2, the 40 volt. 40 volt, nice and smooth. There's a slight little rise there where it joins. The 18, very smooth, quite nice. The 36, it's rough as in the middle here. There's a big chunk sticking out. It's just not clamped together very well, and it just looks and feels rough. It's all sharp around the edges. Doesn't have that Makita quality. It's a little bit disappointing. Not only that, the trigger on the 18 volt looks like thus. I'm gonna have to lean that against the wall for a second. The trigger on the 40 volt, basically the same. The trigger on the 18x2, oh, what's going on here? So I don't like that. Instantly I don't like that. It looks cheap. It feels like you could snap that off. The other 2, solid, goes inside the tool, looks much more substantial than this thing does. So yeah, straight off the bat, I like the 18, I like the 40, not loving the 18x2. Hopefully that's the only thing I don't love about it. When it comes to the area where you hook this onto a shoulder strap or a harness, the 18 volt and the 40 volt are connected solidly to the tool, whereas the 18x2 is floating here on the shaft. Don't worry, these aren't plastic, they all have metal inside, so they're not going to break easy on you. The 18 volt and the 40 volt both have somewhere to hook this up on a screw or something, hang it on your wall when in your garage, your workshop, that sort of thing. But guess what? The 18x2, nothing there. What's going on with this tool? They all have one of these rubbery grips which is quite loose, so you can just slide to wherever you feel is comfortable. They all come with a D handle that you can attach wherever you want, and they all come with a shoulder strap. You can get harnesses as well, but they are of course sold separately. When it comes to the split shaft attachment area of each tool, they are identical. That's because this tool, this tool, this tool, the petrol one, which we don't have unfortunately, and I know some of you are going to complain about that. I tried to get as many as I could. Come on, give me a break, guys. These videos cost me a fortune. All three of these and the petrol one all take the same attachments. You don't have to buy an 18 volt attachment and a 40 volt attachment and a petrol attachment. You just buy the one attachment and you stick it on whichever power head you want, which I think is a fantastic idea. If you only need 18 volt for around the garden at home, go for that. If you're commercial, you might want the petrol one or the 40 volt one. So it's a great way of doing things. So you know, if you start off with the 18 volt and it hasn't quite got enough power and you think, okay, I've got the 18 volt batteries, this isn't quite powerful enough, maybe I'll try the 18x2. You can sell this, buy this, but keep all the attachments you've got, of which there are something like 13, I think Makita make. So keep those, just swap the power head out for something more grunty, and away you go. More power, only for the price of the power head. And if you sell that and buy that, you know, hardly much difference at all. Taking a look at the electronics, that's when the 36 volt or the 18x2 makes a bit of a jump over the other two. Now these two may have superior build quality, but this one has something that the other two don't have, in that I turn this on, I pull the trigger. I turn this on, I pull the trigger. This one's already off. That one's just turned off. Pull the trigger again. Oh, both of them I have to push the power button again. This one here, I turn on, you've got to hold your finger on it a bit longer, pull the trigger. That's going to stay on for like a good minute or more. These ones turn off almost immediately. So that is annoying. That is much nicer. This one's still going. You can just pull the trigger whenever you want. Bloody blah. Walk around, get to the next bit of grass you need a weed eat, pull the trigger. This one I turn on, I weed eat a bit of grass. This one I turn on, I weed eat a bit of grass. I go back to this one. It's already cut out. Oh, and that one's cut out too. But this one, still going. That is so much better. So much better. What are you thinking with this, Makita? I mean, that's just damn annoying. Look, it's already gone. And so is that one. And this one, still going from the original one. Maybe that doesn't annoy you, but it certainly annoys me. I know it's gonna put some of you off big time. But are these two like the chainsaws, for instance? If you push that and then hold your finger down on here, pull the trigger, and leave your hand over the safety trigger, does it stay on? As you can see, yes it does. So as long as you've got your hand pushed down on the top of the handle here, you're all good to go still. You can just tap that trigger whenever you feel like it and you'll be all good. But once you release that, you only got a couple of seconds and it's gone. Let's see if the 40 volt is the same. Hold your finger down on the top there. Staying on. So just like the chainsaws, hold your finger down on the top and it won't cut out, which is good. But the 36 volt, the 18x2, just slightly easier. You can put the tool down, pick it back up, and it'll still go. As soon as you put this down, it's going to cut out like this. What was that, 1 second? Anyway, apart from my little OCD issue about that, let's look at the control panels. And you may be able to see that two of them are quite similar and one of them is very different. As you kind of would expect, the 40 volt and the 36 volt, which, as I'm sure you probably know, but if you don't, they're both 36 volt tools. Why is this called 40 volt? I get so many people say that. Why don't they just call it 36? Makita have already got a 36 volt tool previous to these ones, a 36 volt line, sorry, and this is an 18x2, which adds up to 36. So if they called this 36 as well, that's 3 36 volt systems. It gets a bit confusing, so it makes sense to call it 40 just to differentiate it from the 18x2s and the original 36 volt system. But anyway, these two, the two 36 volt ones, both have a power button which cycles through 3 different speeds. This one you have to hold on to turn it on a bit longer. It has that little green light to show it's on, which this one does not. And it has red lights. This one has green. This one has a bunny and a turtle. This one has 1, 2, 3. Once you've turned it on, the power button cycles through the turtle, in between a turtle and a here and a here. Same on this one, but you don't have to hold it so long. Just cycles through 1, 2, 3. They both also have a reverse button. Why do you need a reverse button, you say? Very handy. If you get something jammed up, like in a strimmer or something, you can whack it in reverse to untie the cabbage tree leaf, for instance. If only New Zealanders are going to know what that means. That is wrapped around your shaft. Now we've got a green flashing light here. That's because we're in reverse. Flick that off. Stops flashing. Flick it on. It flashes. This one, you don't have that, but you have the 3 numbers here flashing. The 1, 2, 3 flash when it's in reverse. This one also has a warning light. We'll get to that later. No warning light on this one. And if we go down to the 18 volt version, we just have 2 speeds. 1, 2. No reverse, no warning light. Just get on with it. They all have TPE overmolding at the top and the bottom of the handles, making them nice and comfy. But yeah, just not quite as nice on the 36 volt 1A. I just don't know what it is about this particular tool. All 3 of these tools are made in that country that you love to make tools. You know the one. And the 40 volt, which is just out of shot here, also has this little toggly, handly, grippy thing for your harness or shoulder strap on the back, which the other 2 do not. All 3 tools are brushless, although you won't be surprised to learn that one of them doesn't actually have brushless written on it. And guess which one it is? Bloody 18x2. What's going on with this tool? They all have battery protection. As you can see, the 18 volt version has a hole in it so you can check your battery life. That's nice. 36 volt doesn't have to do that, but it's the same sort of system here. And the 40 volt has gone for this, wow, more elegant, should I say? Is it more elegant? Just this basic sort of wire protector rather than these solid ones. Yeah, I think the 40 volt looks nicer. But hey, how good are they at actually doing their job? I guess that's the more important thing. The thing you guys are already yelling at me at the screen about, so let's see how this goes. No, hang on. Before we do that, I better tell you some numbers, right? So, who wants to know the RPMs of these things? They've got 3 different speeds on these 2 different speeds on this. What are the RPMs of these tools? So the 18 volt version, well actually I'll give you the full name. According to Makita, on Makita New Zealand's website, this is the DUX18 18 volt LXT brushless loop handle split shaft power head. It has a power output of 470 watts, a net weight, which is interesting because this one's light, this one's light. When you hear the weight of this one is, when you pick this up, it's just much more solid, the 40 volt over the 36 volt, which I found quite surprising. You'd think the 36 and the 40 volt be about the same, but without the batteries on it, there's still a major weight increase with the 40 volt over the 36 volt. Anyway, back to the 18 volt, 470 watts, and on the highest setting, it will give you spinny spins of 9,700 RPM and 6,800 RPM on the lower setting. The 18x2, the DUX60, has a power output of 600 watts. But what does that translate to in speeds? Well, the low speed 5,700, the medium speed 8,200, and the high speed 9,700. Wait a minute, wasn't this 9,600? Why would I go to the extra effort of having to have 2 batteries and the extra price for only 100 RPM more? We're talking like 1%, basically. Why would you bother? Well, you'll have to watch the rest of this video to find out why you'd bother getting that over that. And the 18x2 skin comes in at 4.1 kgs, a big jump over the 2.2 kgs of the 18 volt. Almost double the weight, really. And how much weight is in the 40 volt? Now, the numbers I'm giving you, remember, are all from Makita. This is all from Makita New Zealand's website. We'll check some of these numbers because I'm not so sure on the weight difference here. They're saying this one is 4.2 kgs, this one is 4.1. Feels like more than 100 grams to me. I'll test that sometime in this video, hopefully, if I remember. But power-wise, this was 600 watts, this was 400 and something. They're saying this one is 1,000. But when it comes to speed, how is it with speed? 5,700, 8,200, and 9,700. Exactly the same as this one, and only fractionally faster than this one. So is it worth buying this over this? Or this over this? Why not just buy this over these 2? Let's now get the blower attachment and see who can blow the hardest. We'll also see who can blow the longest. feel like I need to put in some wow chicka wow wow sort of music there. And now my favourite part of any video, telling you what batteries I'm going to use. Well, they're all freshly charged, of course. 5 amp hour 18 volt. These are 5 amp hour 18 volt batteries, and this is a 5 amp hour 40 volt battery. So we have 18 volts running at 5 amp hour, 36 volts running at 5 amp hour, 36 volts running at 5 amp hour, 90 watt hours, 180 watt hours, 180 watt hours. I'll fire each one from the same distance and we'll see who blows the fastest in kilometers per hour. Each tool will of course be used in its highest setting. This is the UB40 1MP, and it is the blower attachment, and it comes with the blower attachment and a short little add-on nozzle. And we will use this, the UB001G, as our control. Right, let's see what Makita's best cordless standalone blower can do. Next we're going to see how far they can blow. First up, the 18 volt on the highest setting. 36 volt. $40 volt. $40 volt standalone. So I've done 3 tests, all with basically the same result, so I'll probably only put one of them on screen. Whatever you've just seen is what I've put on screen, obviously. Anyway, so distance wise, from our target to our first marker, which is our 18 volt, we're looking at around 3.5 meters. Then to our second marker, the 18 by 2, we've got 4.1 meters, and then at 4.8 meters we have both the 40 volts. I thought that the standalone one would blow over easier, but each test it basically came out exactly the same. So there you go. I don't know what's just happened to my camera here, but it stopped recording just before this thing cut out. So it says 9:20 on the screen. It was about 9 minutes 10 that it stopped. I was standing right here. When I push record on here, cannot record, file number exceed limit. What a load of rubbish. So I don't know what's happened to the card there. Something's gone bung. But yeah, 9 minutes 10. Let's have a quick look with the heat doohickey here. And the battery, pretty darn warm on the outside. What are we looking at there? 57 degrees Celsius. The air temperature here at the moment, well, we're in the shade in this bit, but it's about 26 degrees today. You can see the red light flashing there to indicate battery is kaput. And what have we got on the motor here? The motor, not too hot, 37-ish. And the blower part, not even registering. Cold as, 22 degrees. Probably because it's got all that air flowing through it. Let's just make sure this is dead and not, geez, that's hot. Wow, that's so hot. Holy moly. Bottom of that battery is very warm. How warm? Well, let's take a wee look. 59 degrees. Yikes. That is toasty. So we'll get up to about 60 degrees there on the top of the battery. It's about as hot as I've ever seen one of those get. Imagine how hot she is on the inside. The tool itself doesn't actually feel warm at all. I'm quite surprised. It yeah, doesn't feel any warmer than the surrounding air temperature. I wouldn't even know it had been used, to be honest. So that's good, especially for the 18 volt tool. Very good. Let's see how the 36 does, the 18x2. Right, 12 minutes, 10 seconds, lights flashing. Let's see how hot these batteries are. We are looking at, can you see this on the camera? Screen isn't very good, it's a bit too reflective. We're looking at 47, 48 degrees for the bottom of those batteries. And the tool itself, around the 40 degree mark there. The front of the motor housing. Shinogo. Need a third hand. This is our original battery from the 18 volt one. That, as you can see, is my foot. And that is the hot spot left on the deck. I said deck, not dick. And we're looking at 44 degrees on the deck there. And this battery is still very toasty. Yeah, still 44 degrees. Our new ones are sitting at only about 48. Substantially cooler, about 12 degrees cooler than the 18 by itself, which you would expect. A little less stress on the batteries when it's doing 36 volt. Two batteries rather than one battery 18 volt. Well, that's slightly disappointing runtime compared to the 18x2, but you do have to also remember that this is 1000 watts it's putting out, whereas the 18x2 is only 600 and something, so big difference there. So it's chewing through more juice to get more blow, so it's going to go through the battery a bit quicker. Taking a look at the outside of the battery, about 48 degrees, and the tool itself looking at about 35. Tool feels slightly warm, not much. Battery, well, it feels a lot better than the other two. I can feel the heat coming out the vents. And that's probably what this is picking up, because the plastic's not actually that warm, but where the vent is, quite hot. About 54 degrees coming out of this vent. Oh yeah, you can feel it there. Now, other batteries sitting here, the very first one, the 18 volt, is still 36 degrees. And the two that came off the 18x2 are 41 each. Yep. So they're still holding their heat quite nicely. And if we look at the front, if you look at the top and the front of the 40 volt battery, quite cool. Just there's some blue bits there, less than 30 degrees. Air temperature now is probably about 23 degrees Celsius. 44 along the side. You can almost see the cells actually. You can sort of see three distinct heat spots along the side. Interesting. She's all flat. Or is she just too darn hot? Because that is another problem that may have happened. It may have gotten too hot and it's cut out. And that's why our time is short. but we won't know unless we let it cool down and try again. It's the next day and none of the batteries, the 318 volts or the 40 volt, came back to life. They were all flat, not overheated, so that's good. Makes for a proper test. Now most of you can probably make your own mind up from those results which one you want, which one you think's the best, which one you like the most. But I'll just give you some of the numbers and stuff. Fastest speed this got up to 58 kilometers an hour, 74 kilometers an hour, 85 kilometers an hour, and 90 for the standalone 40 volt. Other things to take into consideration: if you're after runtime, this one is the best. If you're after power, the 40 volt is the best. If you want a light, easy tool to carry around, this is very good. This is much lighter than the other two. This one got the hottest while it was running, but it did also run longer than the other two. This one, the batteries got the hottest. With the blower attachment, they all blow really good. When you're using this, you think, oh yeah, that's really good. You don't notice it's not that bad until you try the 40 volt and you think, okay, yeah, 40 volt's got a lot more power, but this is still a great little unit. I still find a standalone blower a much nicer tool to use, but remember you can also get this with an extension. You're probably not meant to use it with the blower, but if you had this with an extension and then the blower, you could get right up high, like underneath the eaves of a house or something, or in a factory getting down cobwebs, dust, that sort of stuff. Yeah, you'd be able to get much higher. But as a standalone unit, depending on what you want to blow, these are quite good if you want to blow real powerful close to the ground, because with the shoulder strap and everything you can just have this really close to the ground and you're still upright. Yeah, so it depends on what you want to do, of course. One thing I forgot to mention about this one, the 18x2, is that it speeds up after a while. You're holding the trigger as tight as you can, but then after a certain period of time, and it seemed to be different all the time, it would kick into like another gear and be a bit faster. You may have seen me do it in the video when I was doing the speed test of the blowing. It's a little odd, and it also did it about 3.5 minutes into the test for the longevity of the battery life, so it's a bit weird. Also, the 40 volts slowed down gradually. You could hear it just slowing down as the battery was going down over quite a long period of time. And also, remember, runtime wise, this one will run twice as long, remember, on the same amount of watt hours, because it's only using one battery. So you double however long it did with the one battery, and it goes much longer than this one and the 40 volt. So that's something to consider maybe. If you haven't got too many batteries, you can get a bit longer runtime out of this. You're just not blowing as hard. So anyway, that's my review of the power heads and the blower, and next time we will be looking at the pole saw. You've got to imagine that there's like an attachment on there. Well, you know, like a bar and a chain. But yeah, at least we won't have to go over the power heads next time. We'll just jump straight into the pole saw. And as always, thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it. I wouldn't be doing it if you guys weren't watching them, obviously. And super thanks to all my new Patreon followers. Cheers for jumping on board with us, guys, and helping get me started. And yeah, we can do much more. We can fund things like doing reviews like this. So if you're interested in Patreon, have a look down in the description. The top tier is actually sold out. I underestimated things. I should have allowed more people to join that one. But you can still join the lower tiers, so take a look at that down in the description if you're interested, and up here and at the end and stuff. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on another one real soon. I've got some real awesome 40 volt stuff coming up, and a couple of cool 18 volt ones too. And yeah, maybe one day we'll get to do some other brands as well, but there's just so much Makita stuff at the moment, so you know, what am I supposed to do, right? Okay, cheers guys.